and welcome to the Renee Lobo Report, bringing you issues of topical interest. Today, my guest is an actor, writer, director of Hollywood films, and he's turning to Bollywood at the same time. He's Jared Michael Cohen, and Carpenter is his directorial debut. Thanks, Mike, for coming in.
My pleasure.
And I know that you've been acting in a lot of other horror films before. The Way of the Vampire, The Plaguers, it was a zombie film. Legion of the Dead, Legend Has It, that's the one you produced it as well. And now the one that you've just have a directorial debut is The Carpenter, which is going to be showcased at the American Film Festival in Santa Monica.
Absolutely.
And tell us, first of all, about this film. I know it's a horror film. It's got all the ingredients. It's got sex, blood, horror, everything all together in it. Why choose horror films?
Well, I mean, since I was a kid, I've always had a passion for horror movies. I grew up watching them, and as I kind of got into the acting side of things, when I moved out to Los Angeles many years ago, the initial movies that I was cast in were horror movies.
Right.
I worked with a company called The Asylum, which basically makes a movie every month. And they've been doing this for many, many years. So the first movie I worked with them was Way of the Vampire. Mm-hmm. And it was a great shoot. I love the blood. I love the campy aspects of it. The vampires, the werewolves, the zombies, the space creatures of the lagoon. I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of the whole occult side of things.
Right.
So I started working with them and doing other projects. And for some reason, of all the auditions that I would go on, anywhere from 3 to 10 a week. I mean, sometimes there would be 0 a week, but auditioning, and all the movies that I seemed to actually get cast in, the majority of them were horror movies. Mm. So I worked with The Asylum, and then I did Alien Abduction. I did Halloween Night. I just, looking at my resume now, it's just 70-80% horror.
It's horror films. Now, Carpenter, again, is a horror film, written, produced, directed by you.
Absolutely.
And you're acting in that as well. The title, any reason why you chose the title Carpenter?
Well, reason it's the Carpenter was I wrote the script, and it needed a killer. It required a killer. So I'm thinking to myself, where can I put together a killer suit, get inspiration for a great killer suit. So I'm walking down the hardware store looking for a light bulb, and I see all these tools that can be used as amazing weapons. I start picking up things I have no idea what they would be used for. Whether it's twisting metal or cutting wood or whatever. And I start picking these up, and I pick up this giant drill bit. Mm-hmm. And then I look over at this crazy gas mask, and it all just started coming together. And I bought a bunch of the stuff, and I had one of my actors come in for a fitting. I got all his measurements. I bought a jumpsuit, put all the tools in his hand, and it's just, I was thinking to myself, The Carpenter.
Wow.
It's got to be a great title. It's got to be used. It's got to be done, and I got to do it.
And how long did it take you to make this film?
From inception to completion, which I guess is still going on as of until next week, until the film market, about a year and a half, almost. And
it's a low budget film.
Yeah, I mean, low budget compared to Hollywood, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, tiny budget compared to what they're spending nowadays to make movies. Absolutely.
Right. Now you have, tell us a little bit about the movie, what the story is all about.
Well, there's the story is not told in a linear fashion. It's told out of sequence. It's about a group of high school, / college kids who are celebrating their victory because they just won their big baseball season. They're all on the baseball team, and then there's a bunch of cheerleaders who they're all friends with. So kind of takes place with these baseball characters and their cheerleader friends. So they go to this house in the woods to celebrate their victory. They have a party. And that story, it intercuts with the story played by my character, which is a writer. And so you kind of see these kids partying, and at the same time you see this guy writing. He's working passionately on this book he's writing. You don't really know what's happening at the time, but pieces kind of start to fit together. And then all of a sudden, this Carpenter character is basically killing these kids one by one. Running around the woods, hacking them up with drill bits, with hammers. I mean, you name it, he's going to town. And so kind of, I don't want to give the whole story away, but I don't. It's all interconnected on what these kids did to deserve this
right.
recourse.
And one of the victims is a South Asian girl who plays.
Absolutely, yeah. One of our lovely actresses, beautiful girl. I mean, did an amazing job at the audition, and I tried to make my cast. It's all beautiful people. The girl came in, she read for the part. Boom.
Wow.
Next thing I know, we're on set.
Right. We're going to take a look at the trailer of The Carpenter, which is going to be shown at the American Film Festival, where it's going to be distributed. And I believe Vesuvio Entertainment has projected that this film, The Carpenter, is going to be one of its hits in the filmmaking season. And it's going to be, it's supposed to be a very successful film for you.
Absolutely.
The other films have been also blockbuster hits. And this one as well. And you're going to LA, and there we see the trailer right here.
Welcome to California, where fantasy becomes reality. And killers become legends.
Evidence links the violent series of deaths to the notorious serial killer, the Carpenter, due to his ruthless method of killing. The FBI is most
What's this all about? What is it, a thriller or something?
Horror, actually, about a serial killer.
Hey, I wonder if what you're writing is starting to come true.
A word from the wise.
What drives a normal, sane human being to kill?
Sometimes the best stories
I love it. It's like you got inside the mind of the killer.
are written in blood.
You all know about the Carpenter, right?
The guy on the news that's killing all the people.
According to his pattern and the direction he's headed, the Carpenter's due to kill right around here.
You're a jerk, Adam.
Do you think believe that story? The one about the carpenter?
What? No way.
Wait, what is that?
When the sun goes down
Why don't we play a real game? A manhunt.
and the games begin, the geeks, stoners, jocks,
Showtime, baby.
and playmates will party on.
Nice costume. Did you put that together yourself? Chad.
All right, dude, you can put down the hammers now.
And so they die. Starring Jared Michaels, Daniel Cars, Daniel Fanaberia, Sandra Lucet, Jocelyn Sands, and Jack Wallace is the Carpenter.
Come on! The carpenter! He's here for real!
Did Chad put you up to the...
My life!
The Carpenter Part 1, and so they die. Let's get hammered. From Vesuvio Entertainment.
Carpenter trailer, part 1, which has been distributed by Vesuvio Entertainment at the American Film Festival. And Mike, tell us, a lot of blood, a lot of horror,
Yep.
and choosing the cast for this kind of a film, was it very challenging?
Well, yes and no. Some of the people that came in, blew me away, and I knew right away, that person for this role instantly. I mean, some of the roles were a little bit more difficult. We had, we held a few days of auditions, some callbacks, and, some meetings. I met with some of them, just to kind of figure out if the role was right for them. I mean, because sometimes you'll audition somebody and they'll do an amazing job, and you think, wow, this person is great, and then you'll see them, a few days later, and in comparison with some other people that came for the part, you're thinking maybe not. So it really depends on, the mood that they bring into the room, the presence that they have. Sometimes I'm just thinking, this person's not right for this role, but maybe, a project in the future.
That's because you've acted in almost 15 horror films before, so you have a good grip on, what you need as a director because you've done so many horror films.
Absolutely.
Now, but special effects, all the special effects for horror films, is it very difficult?
Not for me. I mean,
Expensive.
it's expensive. You want to make sure you're working with really talented special effects artists. I mean, luckily, I worked with some really great people. Throughout my entire career, I've had the pleasure of working with some really talented special effects artists. Gage Munster and Liz Mendoza. Just to name a few that worked on this movie. I worked on the movie Plaguers, which was done by Monster Effects out of Los Angeles. I mean, they created. I was a zombie in that movie, and basically I had to lie down while they created an entire prosthetic chest and bones with the with the flesh, and basically took like a really long time, but the scene came out amazing. And it was worth it. So.
But it's. Do you think like it kind of induces a lot of sickness in somebody? Horror film. A lot of blood all over the place. Vampires. This one doesn't. I don't know if it has vampires in it, but generally when you think of horror films, you think of blood, vampires, and all the special effects, dramatic effects. Do you feel that it has a kind of a negative effect on young adults?
And don't get me wrong. Horror movies aren't for everybody, and I'm not trying to come on here and say, everyone's gonna love my movie, everyone's gonna love the movies, I work in. No, not the case. Some people, hate horror movies. They think it encourages, violence or, the dark side of things. Other people, see it as kind of, it's an art. It is a commentary on what's taking place in the world, not necessarily encourages the negativity, but you know what? That negativity is taking place, so people see it every day. They see it in the news.
So you think it has a cathartic effect, in a way?
It absolutely can. For the people that are in, have a right frame of mind, it certainly can.
For others, it may not. So it's both for positive and negative. Now you're going to India in December, and for your next film. Is it the sequel to Carpenter one? Yeah.
No. This is for another project. It's in development. I'm working with Bobby Kumar, who's an amazing supporter of the arts, and basically we're looking at some locations. The movie actually is going to be shot across the world, but we're going to Bombay. We're going to some areas around there to kind of look at some locations. And see what works. I definitely, I'm very super excited about the opportunity to work in India, to meet some of the people I've never been. So definitely gonna be taking a lot of pictures and really hoping to at least shoot there for a few weeks.
Right, because from Hollywood to Bollywood, a big transition. The Bollywood produces almost 3 films a day because they're the largest film industry in the world.
Absolutely.
And you're going right into the thick of that industry next month, and looking up for locations as well as even actors.
The Khans and the Kapoors. Really, they're doing so much work. They're making such amazing movies. And it's a real honor to be there and kind of be in the same environment and hopefully create something as good as what they've been doing.
That's right, and that movie would be out maybe next year or so.
If we get the locations and everything works out according to plan, hopefully we'll be on set, shooting, April, May, and it would probably, in all honesty, wouldn't be, unveiled to the world probably early 2010.
I see. And again, is it a low-budget film?
Well, fortunately, with the investors we're going and the package we're going with, the budget should be anywhere from, 40 to 60 million.
I see. But do you think in the current climate that we are living in, the economic climate, is it very tough to make films and then distribute films, especially of a niche market like yours?
Horror is no. I think people are always going to want to see movies. You know, whether the economy is good or the economy is bad, people need entertainment, and so I think the movie industry will always be alive, and horror will always be alive. I mean, just like comedy will always be alive. Like there's some people that only want to see action movies. There's some people that only want to see horror movies, and I think all in all, people enjoy movies. Everybody, there's no single person on this world that can say, you know what, I don't like movies, I don't enjoy movies. So I think that alone will fuel the industry for life, for eternity.
So would your next film is also going to be a horror film?
The next film that I'm doing is going to be writing right now is The Carpenter Part 2. So
again, a horror film.
Absolutely.
And that you're going to look out for locales in India. Is it going to be a horror film as well? That's different.
That's different. I mean, I don't want to say too much, but you know, it's kind of an action. It's going to be PG. It's going to be PG. You know, it's definitely some action in there. Definitely a lot of comedy, some romance.
I have to ask you, would you like to dabble more just in comedy? Like you're more focused on horror. Could it be comedy the next one after that?
You know, at this point, it depends on the project. You know, if someone comes along, you know, along my way, and it's a comedy, you know, I'm not going to judge a book, you know, by its cover. I'm going to read the script. You know, I want to learn as much as I can about the project. You know, see if anyone else is attached. And, you know, if the project is good and it's interesting, you know, regardless of the genre, if I feel people will receive it well, then, you know, I'll participate.
Right. What do you think, in your opinion, a good movie, you know, what are the ingredients that sells a film?
A good movie always comes down to one thing, the script, the story. I mean, whether or not, you know, you have $5 million special effects or, you know, you're shooting in Italy or Rome, or it doesn't matter. You know, you could shoot a story in someone's living room with two people, and if it's a great story, people are going to sit there and they're watching it. So it always boils down to the story. I mean,
but then a good story, it could be relative. A story for me may be great for me, but to someone else it may not be great.
Not necessarily. Aristotle basically boiled it down to a science. There's the elements of a story that humans relate to, and whether, you know, that be in a one, you know, tiny example, be, you know, a human being who, you know, against all odds, you know, has nothing, no one believes in him, you know, and he fights his way, you know, through obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, you know, thinks he's, you know, finally going to make it, and then, you know, gets more obstacles thrown at him, you know, keeps fighting, but he has the human spirit in him that powers himself through. You put a great story like that, you get, you know, one example would be Rocky. Every single person in the world is going to relate to it because it relates to the human spirit.
So you feel like the theme, the content, at the same time, don't you think that if you have a very highly visible actor, a great big name, that sells along with the story?
I mean, that'll help sell tickets. I mean, people will say, oh, wow, you know, Meryl Streep's in the movie. And obviously they're going to go to and watch the movie and pay more money than if, you know, Joe Nobody's in it. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to, you know, the story. If it's good, and it will get well received.
Now, I know that since you've acted in over 15 horror films, The Carpenter was your script.
Absolutely.
So you knew already what you wanted because you had been in that genre for so long.
I've seen all the elements. I've seen them at work, and I took all the elements up from the horror movie. You know, the blood, you know, the sex, the location, and I wanted to.
Was it in LA?
It was in LA. Yeah, we shot in LA, and I wanted to put a good story behind that. So, but yeah, make the gore hounds happy, because whenever you make a horror movie, you're gonna have all the horror fans, you know, pointing their fingers at you, watching, making sure. So I wanted to appeal to them, but I also wanted to, you know, have a good story and not just make a, you know, slasher. Everyone gets killed for no purpose.
What do you like most, directing or acting and writing?
You know, it depends on the project. You know, I love directing. You know, I certainly enjoy the process. It's very creative. You know, I mean, I love writing, you know, because the writers, everyone has a job to do, but the writer's the only one that, you know, looks at a blank screen and has to create something. So, I mean, I enjoy that process. Acting, I think, is, you know, it's fun. Certainly get to physically involve yourself and work with other people on that level. But, you know, I enjoy all the elements.
Like more behind the camera lens.
Yeah, I wouldn't say more or less, but I certainly enjoy. You know, I love telling other people what to do. You know, that's always fun.
So this movie, of course, Carpenter 1, you wrote it, you acted in it. You know, so you're actor, writer, director in this. So you pretty much all components have been taken care of by you.
You know, it was a lot of work, and there are times where I wanted someone else to, you know, take the reins for a minute. But you know, it was definitely a lot of work, but it was worth it to kind of see it and to get picked up by, you know, Vesuvio. You know, it was really an honor.
Yeah, it is. It's a big company. And now you're going to India for your new film.
Absolutely.
We'll wish you all the very best with the locals, and you're meeting up, I guess, with the the Bachchans and
the Bachchans, the Kapoors, and, you know, I really hope they see, you know, some of the elements that I see in this project. And I mean, I really, you know, hope that everything comes together, you know, that we get the financing, that we get the locations that we want, because I really think this could be a great project. And I'm really looking forward to the trip, and, you know, just, you hope all the elements align, you know, for everybody's sake.
Well, that'd be great, a collaborative effort, you know, both from Hollywood and Bollywood, coming up with a new film of yours.
And you can jump in and be a part of it, Renee, come on.
Our guest today, Jared Michael Cohen, actor, writer, director, coming out with his directorial debut, Carpenter Part 1. There will be a sequel to that as well, and trying to blend both the worlds, the Bollywood and the Hollywood, for his next project, which we'll be talking about it soon, probably at the Renee Lobo Report again. Thank you. And I'm Renee Lobo. Thank you for watching the Renee Lobo Report.